Welcome to the DX Today Expert Report. Today we're diving into what might be the single most disruptive shift in the history of the entertainment industry. We are looking at generative AI, not as a futuristic concept, but as a current economic reality that is fundamentally rewriting the playbook for film, music, and gaming.
It is good to be here, Alex. We've seen technology support entertainment for a century. Sound, color, CGI. But generative AI is different. It doesn't just support creation, it automates it. We're seeing a decoupling of production quality from production cost, and that is terrifying for some and thrilling for others.
Let's start with the scale of this. We are looking at market estimates that are frankly aggressive. Depending on who you ask, the sector is valued anywhere from roughly $5 billion to nearly $7 billion right now, with growth rates projected between 36% and 40% annually through the next decade.
Exactly. Research in Markets creates a trajectory where this sector hits over $20 billion by 2034. But the numbers only tell half the story. The real story is where the capital is going, or rather, where it isn't going anymore.
You're alluding to the Tyler Perry situation, which I think is the most tangible example we have of this disruption.
It is the bellwether event. In February 2024, Tyler Perry was planning an $800 million expansion of his studio complex in Atlanta. We are talking about 12 new sound stages. Then he got a private demo of OpenAI's text-to-video model Sora. He saw what it could do, and he indefinitely suspended the expansion.
That is $800 million of physical infrastructure, construction jobs, concrete, logistics, wiped off the board because of software.
Perry put it bluntly. He said, if I wanted to be in the snow in Colorado, it's text. That is capital flight moving from physical production to digital generation. And it brings us to the uncomfortable reality of labor displacement.
The numbers on that are sobering. We have a study from CVL Economics and the Animation Guild estimating that over 21% of film, TV, and animation jobs are likely to be disrupted by 2026. That is nearly 120,000 roles.
And we need to be clear about which roles. We aren't just talking about administrative assistants. We are talking about 3D modeling, character design, voice acting, and sound design. This hits the creative class in California, New York, and Georgia very hard.
So how did we get here so fast? It feels like only yesterday we were playing with ChatGPT for fun.
It moved incredibly quickly. Pre-2022, AI was mostly recommendation algorithms, like what Netflix uses to tell you what to watch. Then we had the explosion in 2022 and 2023 with Midjourney and Stable Diffusion. That is when the panic set in. You might remember the backlash Marvel faced with Secret Invasion.
Right, they used AI for the opening credits sequence.
And the fans and VFX community hated it. It was a flashpoint. That led us into 2024, which was defined by the strikes, WGA and SAG-AFTRA, where AI protections were a central bargaining chip.
A gap year? That implies a pause.
Not a pause in progress, but a pause in the hype. The wow factor is gone.
Now, studios are doing the unglamorous work. They are upgrading infrastructure, figuring out legal frameworks, and trying to integrate agentic AI into actual workflows without getting sued. Let's talk about that infrastructure. What are the actual technologies driving this? We mentioned OpenAI Sora.
Sora, along with Runway Gen 3 and Veo, relies on something called diffusion transformers. Think of it as a noise removal process. The AI starts with static, random noise, and iteratively refines it into a coherent image or video based on a text prompt.
But it's not just pasting images together. It understands physics to a degree, right?
It understands 3D geometry and object permanence. It simulates a world. That is why Tyler Perry stopped building sets. If you can generate B-roll or a background that looks photorealistic from a prompt, you don't need a location scout.
And then there's the audio side. DeepMind is doing work with V to A, or video to audio.
This is the technology that threatens sound designers. V to A analyzes the pixels in a video stream and generates synchronized audio.
Beyond generating new assets, studios are also looking backward at their own libraries. I've heard about RAG and fine-tuning.
This is huge for the major IP holders. Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG, allows a studio to feed an entire back catalog of scripts, 50 years of Star Trek, for example, into a model.
A writer can ask the AI to check for continuity errors or suggest plot points that fit the history. And fine-tuning takes that a step further?
Fine-tuning is about voice. You take an open-source model like Llama and train it specifically on Batman scripts. So when you ask it for dialogue, it doesn't sound like a generic chatbot. It sounds like the Dark Knight.
However, you cannot talk about voice cloning without talking about the legal firestorm. The music industry seems to be the main battlefield right now.
It is absolute warfare.
You have Universal Music Group, UMG, suing AI generators like Suno and Udio. The allegation is that these companies scraped copyrighted songs to teach their models how to make music. And the defense is fair use?
Right. The AI companies argue that their models are just listening and learning patterns, the same way a human music student listens to the Beatles to learn how to write a pop song. The courts haven't decided yet if a machine learning is legally distinct from a human learning.
We saw this play out in the court of public opinion with the Heart on My Sleeve track.
The fake Drake song. This was a fascinating case study. An anonymous user, Ghostwriter977, uploaded a track with AI-cloned vocals of Drake in the weekend. It went viral immediately, millions of streams.
And UMG had it pulled down.
They did, but it was tricky. You generally can't copyright a vocal style. They had to use a technicality regarding a producer tag to get it removed, but the damage was done.
It proved that fans often cannot tell the difference. And worse, some fans don't care if it's real or not. That leads to the issue of audience reception. In gaming, we saw a different reaction with Embark Studios and their game The Finals.
That was a pivotal moment. Embark used AI text-to-speech for almost all their character voices and commentators. They argued it let them iterate faster, changing lines on the fly without booking actors.
But the players noticed.
They did. Critics called the delivery flat. It lacked the breathing and emotional effort of a human.
However, and this is key, the game was still a commercial success. It suggests that for fast-paced, competitive shooters, players might tolerate AI assets if the gameplay is good. It normalized AI as a production efficiency tool. So looking ahead, where's this going? If we look at the window between now and 2030, what does the industry look like? The next few years are about utility, coding assistance, localization, automated dubbing. But by 2028, we might see hyper-personalization. Imagine streaming a show where you can dictate the tone or the ending. That sounds like a nightmare for storytellers who want to preserve their vision. The market will split. Tier 1 will be AI-assisted mass content, daily soaps, procedural games, background music, cheap, high volume. Tier 2 will be premium human certified. Human-made will become a luxury marketing tag like handmade is for furniture today. For the executives listening to this, those running studios or labels, what is the strategic move right now?
First, audit your IP. Don't let your archives sit gathering dust.
And on the labor side, move to hybrid workflows. Don't try to replace your creative leads. Use AI for the rotoscoping, the Foley, the basic code. Let your expensive human talent focus on the high-value decisions. And I assume update your contracts immediately. Every contract with an actor, musician, or writer needs to explicitly define digital replica rights. If you are ambiguous there, you are opening yourself up to massive liability.
And finally, invest in authentication. Watermarking, blockchain provenance, you need to be able to prove your content is real in a sea of AI noise.
It's clear that this isn't something the industry can wait out. As Tyler Perry noted, the question isn't if things will change, but how much of the old world survives the transition. Mike, thank you for breaking this down.
My pleasure, Alex.
And thank you for listening to the DX Today Expert Report. We'll catch you next time.